And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. Between 1933 and 1944, President Franklin D. Roosevelt delivered 30 radio addresses known as Fireside Chats. These addresses were aimed at alleviating the anxiety of Americans because of the Depression and World War. Although he was speaking over the radio, millions around the United States felt as if the president was sitting with them in front of their living room's fireplace. On today's Open Connection, we bring you highlights of a fireside chat at Nation to Nation.
My name is Chris Sankey. I'm from Loch Coolams, which means Island of Roses. Look at all you beautiful people, all dappered out, except for you, Graham. You're suspect. So I have known Crystal for about 30 years now. Just going to give away her age just a little bit.
He's older, by the way, just for the...
Through basketball. And I just had the privilege of meeting Phil tonight, Mayor Gerbrooth. I think that's how you... I don't want to butcher your last name. So I'm Chris Sankey. I used to be elected for Loch Coolams. We were one of four that negotiated a P&W project. Unfortunately, did not go, and congrats to the Haisla Nation and your all your success with LNGC and of course now Cedar. So let's dive right into this. Right? I understand before I go to these questions how difficult things could be, when you're going through a transition and developing relationships and trying to understand the characters and the communities where we come from. So the first question I have, either one of you could answer, by the way. With the history of industrial development in Kitimat, tell us about your relationship history as neighboring governments.
That time, I would have to say the relationship between the two governments was almost non-existent. There really wasn't much of a relationship at all. There was, there were no regular meetings. There was nothing to get us together at that time. It was not a happy place to be, and clearly the commitment was there that this needs to change.
I would absolutely agree with Phil that there was no existing relationships. In fact, there was an absolute resistance on I would say personally on our part, on the Haisla's part, not to participate at any level of government to government with the District of Kitimat, simply because of past history, indifferences, conflict that existed between the two levels of government, and it was interesting to even fathom being in a room, seeing as I participated in I believe it was one meeting with our previous Chief Councillor Ellis Ross, where it did not end too friendly at all. It was actually probably one of my first meetings that I took as an elected leader, and it was in Vancouver. I think the meeting lasted probably 10-15 minutes tops, and we ended up walking out, and essentially the agreement was that meeting would never take place again.
These are not easy things to take on. So before I go to the next question, what was the catalyst for you two to finally sit down and discuss those difficult disagreements, different perspectives, opinions? What was it that finally got you to break down those barriers?
I would have to say the catalyst actually just having us get together and build the friendship and relationship was really LNG Canada. Back at that time, both communities, both our staff, both councils were extremely busy with so many different things. And what LNG Canada did was whenever joint venture partners would come to town or anything like that, instead of having, we're just going to have a lunch meeting with the Haisla, dinner meeting with the District of Kitimat, no, they brought us together. And looking back on that, not only was that a great opportunity to build a friendship, to get to know the personalities, not just the politicians, but it was also great to be meeting not in one of our council chambers. So you're at a neutral spot. It's with LNG Canada, and clearly that was the big influence, the big catalyst that really brought the two communities together. If you look at when I was first elected to council in 2011, and that was when Rio Tinto announced their modernization project. And also at that time, there was all of a sudden these potential of LNG came up. So all of a sudden, with Rio Tinto's modernization project, the premise of possible LNG projects, everybody was busy. Our staff were crazy busy. Council was busy, and I'm guessing I could speak for the Haisla Nation too of how busy everything was. For instance, in the district of Kitimat, it wasn't just the project, and dealing with that was, of course, every single vacant property in the community had developers coming and wanting staff's time. And what does it take to rezone this? What about building this here? And of course, we weren't saying no to anybody. And so time-wise, it was really tough. The one thing we did decide at that time, though, was, we don't want to see any of these projects fail. We want to do our part. So as the District of Kitimat, what we did is we had to commit, even without any extra tax dollars at that time, that we were going to hire all the necessary staff. So we tripled up in our economic development department, doubled up in planning department, engineering department, et cetera, et cetera. But it was a challenge there of wanting to get through that, and I think time was the biggest challenge of that time to get together. And LNG Canada, really a lot of credit on them for how they went about doing it and bringing us together, and that honestly started the conversations of just getting to know each other and going from there.
I think a huge contributor to that as well was the decline in the economy within Kitimat. I came on board. I was actually the executive assistant to our chief and council in 2009 to 2013. And as I supported the chief and council back then, we saw a decline. We saw Eurocan, Methanex leave Kitimat. So two industries that supported a lot of the economy and offered opportunities of employment leave. So we saw the population of Kitimat decline. I think we had 2 schools closed within the district, and we needed opportunity in our territory. We needed opportunity in our region for our communities and our region to be successful. And essentially, when you align what the nation wanted to accomplish with opportunities of employment, and I'm talking careers, I'm not talking jobs, that aligned. So in this, the willingness to partner, the willingness to work and have those conversations with Phil and his team essentially brought us together, and LNG Canada provided that opportunity.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. True reconciliation is accomplished by engaging Canadians in dialogue that revitalizes the relationships between Indigenous peoples and all Canadians in order to build vibrant, resilient, and sustainable communities. Let us return to the fireside chat as Crystal and Phil share their community's reconciliation journey.
Reconciliation is at the forefront of many levels of government. What has the nation and the municipal government done to begin the process of reconciliation?
There's been a lot we've been working on together with the Haisla Nation. We've done several blanket exercises. We also, in 2018, on the lands of the Haisla Center in Kitimat, we erected a friendship pole between the two communities. So that was going very well. We've also, for the Haisla Bridge that's being rebuilt right now, we're going to have Haisla art all along that. And I got to give a lot of credit to our Leisure Services Department staff who've been bringing forward many different ways of working with the Haisla and building that relationship. Reconciliation is a word. I look at it as relationship, understanding the history, and really working together and wanting to understand why things weren't the way they should have been years ago. But some of the things our Leisure Services Department have done is, so Haisla Boulevard in Kitimat is the main boulevard going through town, and we have light standards all the way through there, and they've always had 3 flags on them, of course, the Canada flag, BC flag, and Kitimat. Well, what we've done now is we've alternated every second pole, so you have the Canada flag, BC flag, and then every second pole has got the Haisla Nation flag. We recognize September 30th, of course, by flying a flag at our fire hall. So there's many things, but the relationship really is, it's the relationship building, understanding, what the past things were, the problems in the past and why that relationship wasn't there. And clearly Crystal is very committed and a very easy person to work with, to advance that along. As I said, I think it has a lot to do with the personalities involved, that, there's no, there's nothing else standing in the way. It's look, we want to work together and see both communities' success. It's industries come and go. We saw, as Crystal mentioned, Hurricane and Methanex left, but Haisla Nation and the District of Kitimat will be neighbors forever. So it only makes sense to finally get to that point where we're going to work together for the betterment of both communities.
And again, it's that recognition of our two communities have been in existence beside neighbors for the last 50, 60 years. I was just looking at my Auntie Marilyn as Phil was responding to that. And she'd made a statement to me, and my Auntie Marilyn is one of my biggest supporters. And she had mentioned how great it was to see her mayor. So my Auntie Marilyn lives in the municipality of Kitimat. It was so nice to see her mayor, Phil Germuth, and her chief councillor working together. And essentially that comment kind of, and I go back and reflect in regards to some of the statements being made to me and the meaning behind it. And essentially, we need to work together in order to improve the quality of the lives of our people. There are programs and services offered within the municipality of Kitimat that I think us showing the leadership that we do in creating this relationship only benefits our ability to have other partnerships with other entities within a municipality. So one example, we have MOU with the Tamatik Status of Women that provides services that we cannot simply provide for our people. We have approximately 300 to 400 of our members that reside in the municipality, and our people deserve that relationship. And I think the more we have that continued vision of working together, not only for the benefit of Haisla members, but for the benefit of both communities and our region. So the work that we're doing together is benefiting our entire region. And I think that as a common goal and a common focus continued, will continue this path towards a relationship.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. LNG Canada represents one of the largest energy investments in Canadian history, with a project estimated cost about $40 billion. It is a joint venture with 5 global energy firms: Shell, Petronas, PetroChina, Mitsubishi, Koneas. Let us return to the fireside chat with Crystal and Phil.
Tell us about your LNG journey in Kitimat, some of the milestones and learnings. How does this benefit your community today and in the future?
And everything has been great in regards to all the available opportunity for our members and for the region. However, there are learning curves within this process that we definitely, as we improve the relationship between not only our elected leaders, but our staff, being able to connect with one another and essentially share what our experience is from the Haisla perspective and what their experience is, and to move towards things that improve the quality of lives of our people moving forward. I'm talking about housing, I'm talking about the infrastructure that Phil's talking about within the municipality. So as we progress through each of the projects, so as Phil mentioned, we experienced the Rio Tinto modernization project, now we're experiencing the LNG Canada project, and next we will experience CEDAR. So all the learning opportunity that both of our communities have gone through, and the growth and the knowledge that both of our staff have, it essentially ensures that our communities are successful through the growth and that we're able to tackle issues that meet the needs of our people. Not only has this provided an opportunity for the nation to build with the District of Kitimat, we're able to do this with other neighboring nations, as Chris had mentioned, that this opportunity reaches his community. So if you come to Kitimat and you go on LNG Canada site, you don't only see Haisla joint venture partnerships, you see Kitsillis, you see Kitsamkalan, you see Lac Willam's, you see Kikatla, you see all these nations coming into our community and being provided that employment that leads to careers and skill sets that are transferable is absolutely meaningful. So that has allowed us to do that and have that legacy, share the wealth that's happening in our communities. Not only that, but I also sit at a table with 7 other neighboring First Nations communities, where the agreement is that we will tackle issues on the ground that provide results for our people today. So housing, we're proposing a detox facility for Kitimat, our terrace, sorry. So having that agreement and being able to provide those opportunities has been meaningful, and it's all because of industry being brought to our community.
LNG Canada honestly is one that actually where their words match their actions. For, between 2007 and 2010, we lost Urican and Methanex, and that was a huge, that was a real problem in the community. But we've always still had, of course, the aluminum industry there. But losing all that was a big difference. And so having LNG come in and the prospect of LNG, the journey's been great to go down. It's unfortunate that Kitimat LNG didn't work out. But, of course, Enbridge, who's here tonight too, representative, they've bought that pipeline, and we're really hoping that somebody can revive that. But the Cedar LNG project is great too, and I see three ways. Number one, it's so great for the Haisla Nation, being the controlling partner in that, with the controlling interest in that. That's amazing. On a global scale, of course, it's great that we're giving Asia and other nations the opportunity to, to basically burn our much cleaner fuel than coal and diesel. And from the District of Kitimat perspective, it's great because clearly the people in Kitimat understand that the benefits that industrial activity has brought to our community. For around 8,000 people that we are now, we have 2 ice rinks, a swimming pool, beautiful golf course. We're able to still provide with LNG, of course, coming on. We're able to provide that level of service that people have come to expect over the years. And looking at rebuilding many of our major infrastructure, because Kitimat was kind of built from scratch strictly for servicing industry. So it wasn't different things over the periods, kind of everything came at once. So we're also seeing now all at once that a lot of our infrastructure, recreation facilities are starting to get to their end of life, and we need to be able to fund that. So, Cedar LNG and LNG Canada are great for all of us in many different ways, and we're very happy to have that, of course, as a great industry to have in our community. And we're also looking forward, I believe, if hydrogen were to be able to come, methanol, there's lots, and anything tourism we're looking at. It's not just industry, but as you mentioned, LNG, yeah, it's been a great ride to be on, and we're looking forward to, seeing that first shipment leave on its way to Asia.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
The simple, often overlooked fact is this: work gets done with and through people. There's nothing more impactful on people, their work, and their performance than trust. In this final segment of Open Connection, we return to the fireside chat to discover new ways to move forward.
The last question is, what advice would you give to communities, industry, governments on how best to move forward with these opportunities that are in front of us?
The first thing I would say is you have to have patience. Relationships move at the speed of trust, and you have to give it time. Don't try and rush anything. It takes time to build that relationship. And we've done very, very well with that. And like I say, LNG Canada, again, being the catalyst to do that brought us together to where we could just start talking. We didn't right away start. I mean, I've been mayor now for 8 years, and, working with Crystal now for at least 6 years, I believe. 5, okay. And, so right away there wasn't this talk of, it took that time to get to where we are now of, hey, let's look at potentially doing a museum together and things like this, and really, really working together. But you have to build that trust first and build that friendship, and it does take time. And as whether you're a politician or a company, it's being honest right from day one. Just be honest and be truthful, and you will get there, but it does take time.
Establishing that communication and I think it's the willingness to have the hard conversations. It's the willingness to sit here and to honestly ask the hard questions of one another, but again, aligning your team's vision as to what you want to accomplish and having that as a catalyst to move forward. I know it's definitely, and we have 2 separate governments and processes that are implemented into it. And I think that the fact that we're establishing the relationship between our staff is absolutely huge and important, so that they can understand where we're at and how things get done within our administration and our government, and the same with them. So it's aligning goals, objectives, where you want to be and how you're going to get there. I've lived here my entire life. It is full of memories, full of stories.
Haisla people are good people. I'm taught to respect everybody.
We're a proud people, and we're a patient people.
Culturally, we've always been strong. We have our Nuyum, is our Haisla laws.
As young children, we are taught to take care of our land and not to take more than we need. And we want to be a part of solutions. The project came to fruition sitting in a boardroom in Calgary in order to reach a goal of maybe one day owning and operating our own LNG facility in our territory. From that experience, we were able to implement a lot of our cultural values and our principles and having an actual say. We want to work together to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our people because we've been on the sidelines for far too long. When you hear my Auntie Marilyn speak or my Baba Nelson speak, they recognize the value. They grew up at a time where we weren't included in the prosperity that was being taken from our territory.
Growing up with what I had, what we had, which was not much. And now you look at it and you say, hey, look at all this. That's a big industry. I feel so much pride in our reserve for stepping forward and saying, this is what we want for our people.
We say, yeah.
We chose a facility that would have the least amount of impact, regardless of the economies.
From the get-go, they're requiring it to use hydroelectric power. So it's a renewable resource. It's floating. So there's going to be minimal impact to the footprint of the project area.
Economic reconciliation is what it's all about. We're not asking to be more than. We're just asking to come back to level. We've always been proud, we've always been self-sustaining, and now to have validation of the strengths that we've always had, it feels like a blooming, really.
We have to do things together as people, Haisla people.
The future is really bright. I can see the difference right now.
There's no limits like there used to be. The possibilities are endless.
There's more opportunities than people.
We'll have these financial resources to be able to send our kids off to school or send them to wherever they want to go.
We're able to do that through the revenues generated to provide programs and services to ensure that they learn their true Haisla identity. Cedar is independence. It's a legacy.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection with mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.